Ik weet niet eens wat aan het zijn. Ik ga net gaan zien of mijn
Okay. Maybe we can get started so long. We're having a little bit of a technical issue. We've got a new Wi-Fi connect your laptops system. It's always fun when there's new technology. So good morning and welcome to PractIcum. It's crazy to think that we're here. It's been something that I think everybody's anticipated. I think this is the part of the 18-month course where you can actually start seeing what you can do, what you know, and how we can help. And isn't that at the end of the day what we do is how do we help, you know? So welcome to everyone. What I'm going to start doing, first of all, Chantal is helping me out this morning. Thanks, Chantal. Is to just introduce everybody in the room very briefly. I think just in terms of the supervisors and the faces that you might not know, just to have a sense of how things will work. I think first and foremost, I just want to say that myself, Gabby, and Kendall will be running as coordinators. You're a big group this year, so we do need 3 coordinators because it's a lot to coordinate between sites, cornerstone, logbook, supervisors, and all of these things. So at any given day, you can either contact Gabby, myself, or Kendall. We think with the same brain. We have the same experience in terms of Psych. So at any given time, if you get stuck or you don't know something, please reach out to the 3 of us. Don't leave it because then it becomes a bigger thing. We had students last year that didn't tell us they were struggling to get community hours. And then if you tell me in May, there's not a lot I can do. If you tell me in Feb and March, there's 3 months that I can help you out. So I think the big thing this year is communication. So we're here to communicate today, and this is what orientation is about, a lot of communication. I also want to emotionally prepare you. I feel like we need to do a little moment of silence, but I need to emotionally prepare you for a lot of the brain dumping that will happen today, okay? There's a lot of information, but I want you to relax in knowing that everything is in your pack that I'm going to give you. You will get a Google Drive. And everything I'm saying today and everything supervisors are saying today is in that pack. And you will have access. So if today you're just dumbfounded and you sit here and you hear nothing, it's okay. You will still be fine, okay? Josh is recording the session for us because it's a lot of information and because we want you to be able to go back and say, oh, she said something about that, I can't remember. That's okay, right? So I almost just want to say, relax. It's going to be fine, and we are here for you. That's 100% the job, is to be here for students and make sure that you have what you need to be successful. So if you allow me the time just to introduce the staff, and then I want us just to go around the room and just say your name, where you are placed, and maybe one thing we don't know about you. One thing we don't know about you. Make it fun. So we can all relax a little, okay? Something you don't, okay. All right, so I'm going to start with the supervisors first. Do you want to introduce yourselves? Is that better? Yeah, I think so. Let's start with Gabby, and then we'll work our way around the table. Gabs?
Hi, I'm Gabby. You'll know me, I hope. I'm going to be supervising 2 students this year. I'm very excited about that. And it's my first time supervising fully for the PractIcum, but I have been doing group supervision for the last couple of years, so that's been pretty cool. Something you don't know about me, I am an avid cat person.
I didn't know
probably have
that.
5 cats if I wasn't married with kids.
I didn't know that. That's a good one. Thank you, Gabby.
Okay, morning everyone. I'm Abby Cherrington. I'm very new to Cornerstone. I'm very excited to be here. My specialization is community and social psychology. So I bring all of that into the Psych program this year. We're going to inject a lot of things in terms of empowerment and prevention programs and career options too. So I'm really, really excited to bring that to Cornerstone. My first time supervising Psych, so I'm also glad to learn with everybody else. And yeah, I'm really happy to be here. So thank you. You don't know anything about me, so everything I've said is
Good.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sondre. I've lectured you sometime last year. This is my fifth year supervising B-Psych students. I'm very excited. I'm excited to have Gabby and Avid on the supervision group as well. We're going to learn so much. And something you don't know about me is I actually enjoy painting. So pick up painting again. I'll show you some of the photos when we have a break. So I'm excited for you guys. Hello, I'm Sharon. I do the psych. Oh, hello. Nice to meet you. I do the psychometric supervision. You all know I'm a granny. We're going to know about me. I do embroidery and sewing and knitting and all those things. I'm actually a mommy at heart, not really a psychologist.
Great. Hi, I am Catherine. You can call me Kat. So I work as an ed psych at a high school on Mondays to Thursdays, and then I work in private practice in the afternoons as well. This is my second year of supervising. I am supervising 2 practicum and 5 psychometrics. And yeah, I think I would say I'm a bit of a coffee snob, and I just love hiking. So spend weekends in mountains. So yeah. Cool.
Thank you so much. Can we go to Jenna?
Hi everyone, my name is Jenna. It's very nice to meet you all. I don't know really what I have to say, but I am excited to check things out and connect with all of you guys. And what about me? Can I tell you? Nothing, you know about me.
Cornerstone.
Yes, I went to Cornerstone. I did the Psych equivalent here, not in this room, in the room upstairs. Yeah, and I'm also a cat person. Good morning, everyone. My name is Anushka. I am actually dual registered, so I'm an educational psychologist as well as a registered counselor. I was first registered counselor and then now ed psych for the past couple of years. And something you don't know about me is I love Friends. The series, Friends. Yeah, but I love Friends as well. Doof, but anyway, yeah, so love Friends. Ek het gooi in 'n reference there.
Can I tell them how we met?
Yeah.
So Anushka was a student when I was a high school teacher. That's how old I am. Just saying. All right, let's do Chantal and Nats at the back, and then we'll run with the students.
All of you know me, Chantal. What do you not know about me? Maybe some of you know, but I'm very excited this year. I was accepted in doing my master's in cultural It's very exciting.
I'm Natalie, everyone knows me too. I've never supervised B-Psych. Can you believe it? I've always done the research side of things. So I'm excited to do the B-Psych PractIcum this year. They've always tried to pull me in for many, that's supervising, I'm not, no. So they're excited. Things you don't know about me. Guys, I got Netflix this December. Yeah, that's exciting. I watched my first series in December. I've only just got time to play it because I've heard it's addictive. Yeah. Thanks.
Welcome to the club.
Go watch Friends.
Yeah, go watch Friends. Okay, Kiara, can we start there with you and we start from the back and run away? You don't have to stand up. You can just maybe say who you are, where you placed, and something about yourself.
My screen is working if you want to email.
Okay.
Maybe I got to go to Bali in the holidays, which is super cool for my many friends.
She's well rested, really.
3 months was an adequate amount of time.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kaylee. I'm placed at the Overwork Education District. And something you might not know about me is that I have a weird obsession with true crime documentaries. I watch it every night before I go to sleep. It's like a background track that's playing there, so yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Nicola. I'm placed at Youth Hub in Rondebosch. Something you don't know about me is, like 2 weeks ago, my nephew was born. So he's the first grandchild in our family. So he's like our pride and joy. So I'll show everyone lots of photos.
Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Mamaloma and I'm placed at CPUT. And one thing you don't know about me is I've successfully stopped consuming coffee for the last couple of months.
Wow. Life goals.
Good morning everyone.
I think I sent it to your Gmail. That's fine.
Something you don't know about me, I'm a forensic expert.
A foreign? What did you say, a foreign?
Forensic
Oh.
expert. I didn't like that.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Zaria. I'm placed at Youth Hub also. And one thing that you don't know about me, I'm a football fanatic. I love football. Yeah. Nice.
Hello everyone, my name is Johannes. I'm fortunately placed at Barnburg Boys High School. And something you might not know about me is I love singing compulsively. So in my car, everywhere, I've always been silent, please keep quiet. I haven't done it yet, so but yeah, that's something.
I'm Isolette. I'm placed in Melbourne. I will be in private practice, but I'm in the community, so Melbourne High School, and also involved with some of the NGOs in Marcos. And something you don't know about me, which I really have to think really hard about, is I'm allergic to cats, Gabby.
So you can't visit.
Hi everyone, my name is Danica. I am at Good Psychological Services, and I think what you don't know about me is that I really enjoy growing.
Hello everyone, I'm Sogazi. I'm based at CPUT. One thing I'm sure you don't know about me, around 2010 I was an arts and culture and life orientation teacher at a primary school.
Oh, interesting.
Hi everyone, my name is Karishna and I'm placed at Pratia Heights Academy in PractIcum. And I think one thing you don't know about me is that I haven't had my tonsils removed.
Hi everyone, I'm Melanie. I'm also placed at Pratia Heights Academy. One thing you don't know about me is that I'm a big animal lover and I like music, especially Taylor Swift.
Swiftie.
Hi everyone, I'm Yasmin. I'm placed at WCD Metro North. And one thing you don't know about me, or if you do know, you can just pretend. I crochet, and I used to have a whole crochet business, and I used to sell crochet things like flowers and bags.
So you and Sharon can spend an afternoon. Well, thanks.
Hello, my name is Rizwan. I'm placed at Juno Primary School in Durbanville. If you do know me, you might know this, but I eat popcorn with a spoon. I can play the piano. Hi, I'm Kayla. I'm placed at St. Legion Institute. What you might not know is I'm actually quite nerdy. I recently learned to do the Rubik's Cube, and I actually have a degree in video editing and directing.
Hi everyone, I'm Joaquin, and I'm placed at on school, so you don't see a lot of me there. So one thing that you don't know about
Hi, I'm Robin and I'm placed at the WCD in Cairo. And one thing I like most about me is if I could, I would bring it for my
I'm Kirsty at the Safe House Nutrition, and I like anime.
Oh.
Hi, I'm Razia, and I'm placed at Youth Hub in Rondebosch. And one thing you don't know, because it only happened recently, is that I was selected to assist and host someone who's walking from Papergullis to the north of Russia.
Wow.
Walking, and please follow him. His handle is Hike with Me, and it's really impressive what he's doing. He's doing it for peace.
Oh, wow.
World peace.
Nice.
Hi, I'm Layla. I'm placed at WCD North as well. One thing you probably don't know about me, I'm also obsessed with the TV show Friends.
Here we go. Oh, okay. See, Netflix, guys, there's no time for Netflix this year. This year we're not going to Netflix. No. Thank you so much. Did everybody get an opportunity? No one was skipped anything. Okay. Thanks, Chantal, for sorting out the orientation. But again, I'm going to say it a few times today, but welcome, welcome, welcome. I do think this is... I'm saying this not lightheartedly, but because I've been doing this for 10 years, I think this is the most you will grow in your life will be in the next 6 months, not only in your capacity and in your competency as a registered counselor, but in yourself as well. And I think it's an exciting journey of growth. I remember a few years ago, one of my students said at the end of 6 months, she says, I'm done growing. I don't want to grow anymore. I'm fully grown. So you might feel stretched this year. But know that we've got you, okay? And you have a massive support team behind you. And so I'm going to start slowly going through some of the paperwork. You will still meet. Amy still has to come. She'll come after the lunch break, one of our other supervisors. I'm also supervising. Geraldine is supervising as well as Kendall. So some of the supervisors aren't here yet, but they will be here for your sessions, okay? So let's slowly start working through the orientation program. I want to invite you to maybe hold back a little with your questions until the end of the slide, because you're going to ask something that I might still want to get to. But I want to invite the supervisors who have supervised to jump in when you remember something from the past that you can maybe add some wisdom to it. I've done this so many times. I told Chantal this morning that sometimes I forget that you don't know. Okay, so ask, jump in. Please, let's make it a group effort. Okay, this is called a workshop, okay, not a lecture. All right, so firstly, what are we going to look at today? Well, we've done the welcome and introductions. We're going to look at the placement overviews, just where you are placed and how that would work in terms of the difference, because it's massively important to accept that. Paperwork, working through the module outline, expectations in terms of competency, what assignments you're doing, the journals will be run, supervision guidelines, professional practice, which is very important, and then the planning and the meeting of the supervisor at the end of today. All right, so we can go on to the next one. Sorry, Chantal, I'm making you run around. Yeah, you'll get all your steps today. Yes, no gym for you tonight. All right. So before we get started, I want you to kind of reflect on your expectations for PractIcum. We had our department meeting last week, and one thing that came up was the why question. Why are we doing what we're doing? It's not about output. It's not about preparing a very nice Canva presentation for your case presentation, and it's not about your academic language that you use when you try and connect with what you are doing. It's about why are you doing what you're doing? What's the reason behind you sitting in that chair today? And I want you to reflect on this for a few minutes. And it might be something like you've always wanted to assist, or you're a helper at heart, or whatever your reasons are. But I want you for a minute to really reflect on why are you doing this? Because that will be, that one thing, the why, will be your beacon throughout this journey. Every time you get tired, every time you get a psychometric report back and you have to redo it again, every time a client doesn't pitch up, every time your supervisor tells you, maybe you need to work on that, every time you feel frustrated or tired, go back to the why. The why is the motivation. Okay. It's not, I'm making it sound really bad. It's really fun also. The practicum is very fun.
Sorry, I was actually trying to turn it off and it started.
Oh, I thought I missed something. I live on reminders. No worries. So just remember your kind of expectations for the year is tied to your why. Why are we here? What are you hoping for this week? What are you hoping for this year? And then I want you to consider your energy level at the moment. So let's maybe just take a few minutes, reflect on those 4 questions, and just think about where you are in the here and now as we sit here preparing for this practicum. Okay, and maybe if you want to make a note to kind of make this the, like I said, the beacon for the year. The why, the expectations, the hopes for the year. In terms of your energy level, I'm hoping, like Kiara's been on a 3-month holiday, so hers is probably 10. I'm joking, it doesn't have to be. But whatever your energy level feels like, maybe you have a high energy level and you're ready to go. How do you keep it high? Maybe you're low at the moment and you need support to maintain. So be aware of where you are at in terms of yourself. During a practicum, that will be tested. Okay. Can we have the next one? Okay, so I thought I was really advanced in my effort last night. If you scan the QR code, it will take you to a Google Drive. I don't know if you can do it now, maybe, those of you that have a phone. I will also make this available on the WhatsApp group, but then your phone can't scan your phone. So if you want to scan that. So I've placed all the documentation that you need for this year is on that drive, and I think it's good for the supervisors to also have that. It's got the link to this PowerPoint. It's got a link to the module outline. It's got a link to what your client intake form looks like. It has a link to what the Monday schedule looks like. So everything you need to know in that drive. Okay, you can send me permission. Let me quickly put that through. I didn't know I was going to have to do that. This is what everything's... Jeez, guys. Here we go. At least I know it works. Yeah. Okay, I will give permission as I go. Let me give a few. Because I just think it's handy to have everything in one space.
But you can change access.
I don't know.
Saying allow anyone with this link to access.
Thanks, Chandra. I was just impressed that I had a QR code. Now you're making it difficult. Now you're making it. Oh, manage sharing. Okay. Okay, I'll do that. But for those of you that's trying, I've given permission, so you can just at least open. Okay. I think that's most people got access now. So, yeah, let me do the rest later. I don't know how to switch with this one. Sorry. Let me just put the sound off. So the idea was that you at least have access from the get-go. I just put it off. Why is it still making a noise? With this one. Okay, let's just ignore that. And we can go to the next slide. Okay, so in that you will even find your logbook, everything is there. And you don't have to look at it now. You're going to have Thursday to do that. I'll explain what Thursday looks like because I said you need Thursday as a backup day, and I'll explain that in a little bit. All right. So let's start at the beginning. Supervisors will be here on Mondays for your bi-weekly supervision. Okay. There are some of you that are placed quite far away. I know, for example, Anushka students are in Brackenfell, and Anushka is in Brackenfell, so we won't make all of you drive to campus for supervision. You can do that in Brackenfell as all of you are that side. That is an arrangement you make with your supervisor as long as we have enough face-to-face sessions, okay? And that it sticks to the schedule. Every second week you have to have connection time with your supervisor. It is non-negotiable, okay? So Mondays we've scheduled as an academic day so that you have time to get to admin because we know what practicum feels like. You'll be at your sites from the Tuesday to the Friday, right? And your sites can dictate what that looks like because every site is different, all right? But Mondays, unequivocally, everybody needs to be available for academic work, all right? The Tuesdays to the Fridays, it's very differing, and every year we have this issue, and every year we smile and nod and we listen, but I'm going to say it now and you're going to question it again, and it's okay. Your sites and the person sitting next to your site, to you, their site, will have different hours, different start times, different finishing times, and different holiday times. Okay? It's not unfair. That's the world of work. Okay? I get to leave campus after my class, and sometimes I'm home by 3. My husband doesn't have that. He has to be at work until 5 o'clock. He can't phone my boss and say it's unfair. Okay, so even though it's a practicum, it's real life work, all right? So if your colleague is placed at the WCD and they get a 3-week holiday in June, I am sorry that you are not getting it, but that is just what it is, okay? So please, from the get-go, don't compare with each other's sites. If you have a question around your site that feels different to your friend, and you ask your friend and you get upset because theirs is better than yours, I'm sorry, but then let me know and maybe we can discuss it and work a way around it if you're really unhappy. But often at times, sites will just be different, okay? We also don't encourage you to work on weekends. We want you to maintain balance. We want you to really live and practice the way we've trained you in terms of self-care and making sure that you find balance and not overwork and under self-care, right? So we're not wanting you to work on weekends. If, for some example, some of the schools might have a mental health day on a Saturday, or they only get moms to come in for parent meetings on a Saturday, or whatever the case might be, then you ask your site on which day in the week can I then take time for myself back, okay? And let your supervisor help you with those arrangements because the expectation is you work 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, okay? So it can often happen that if they ask you for an additional day, then you take a day back, right? Please keep your boundaries in place. And if you struggle with those, that's where we grow. Okay, and we will help you with that. We can't have you burn out in March. And we see that every year. Okay. So those are the sites. When you go to the sites, Tuesdays to Fridays, if they change it, just make us aware of it. And also, just like I said, make sure the balance is okay. Also, no one expects you to go to site 6 o'clock in the morning and leave 8 o'clock at night. I'll give you the breakdown now in terms of hours. You don't need to be working 12 hours a day. Please don't. When we work with people, we tire. And when we are tired, we're not good for our clients. Okay. You have 2 supervisors at all times, at least 2. Some of you that have a site that shifts, like Isolette sometimes will go to the school and sometimes at the Aquila. She might have 2 people overseeing her, one at the school and one when she's not at the school. So she might have 3, but you'll never have less than 2. Okay, who are the 2 supervisors? One would be sitting in this room or on their way here, your cornerstone supervisor who's attached to us. And then you have your site supervisor that's attached to the site. So that would be at Youth Hub, it would be Genevieve. You have Mr. Fisagi. the WCED, you guys have different ones. I know Melanie and all of them are there. Yeah. Yeah. That's good you mentioned that. Okay. So wherever you place that, I know you guys have Stacy, Claudia is going to supervise you, Cordelia is going to supervise you, Vivian's going to supervise. So you have your site supervisors and you have your cornerstone supervisor. You get the difference. Okay. What is the difference between the two? The site supervisor governs what you do when you're there. I'm not there to see that you pitched up at 8 o'clock, and I'm not there to see that you did the workshop that you say you did. They are there. So for the activities you do on site with your site supervisor, they sign that in your logbook. They sign that they take responsibility for acknowledge the fact that you did the work that you said you did. Okay? Not because we don't believe you, because we just have to have record and evidence of everything for HPCSA, etc. Okay? So your site supervisor will sign off everything you do for campus. Your cornerstone supervisor signs off, but your cornerstone supervisor can also question the stuff in your logbook. So say, for example, you're doing a psychoeducational talk on family dynamics at an NGO. Okay? You can still ask your cornerstone supervisor to go through your notes with you, look at your content, and see that it's applicable for the site if you want kind of academic assistance in that space. So it's not that you're not allowed to talk about that. It's just the signing off. Happens on site where we can't see it. And whatever we do, we sign off that they can't see. And if you're confused, we can co-sign as well. We've had students we just co-sign with your site supervisor if you feel comfortable. But there's two supervisors that run the practicum site. Now, Sharon reminded me, you also have a third supervisor in the form of psychometric supervisor that is only responsible for psychometrics, like Catherine, like Anushka. They have certain students that they only do psychometrics with. So they read your reports, they send it back, send it back, and send it back. Now, I'm making it worse than it is, not that bad. But anyway, so they do the psychometric reports, and they help you with, Chantal will help you with the raw data and all of that she'll explain tomorrow. I feel like very untrained in that area. But so you'll have a third supervisor just for psychometrics. Okay. So you see, we're there. You've got 3 people that you can phone and that you can email and that you can ask. And then the coordinators. And if you don't find joy through your supervisor, through the coordinators, then it's Geraldine also. Okay. So we've got this. I think my favorite part of training was knowing and supervision I'm covered, because when you go out into the world, you're on your own. Okay. And then you see the value of supervision. I think what's nice always when the students leave the program, I see all of them start with supervision already in their private practices when they start, because they know the value of being in supervision. All right, also want to make a mention here that your supervisor is not your personal psychologist. If there's personal challenges, you can give a high-level mention to your supervisor so that we know you're going through something or that you're having a hard time with something. But there will be times that your supervisor can say to you, don't you think you need to go back and just work through this with your psychologist, okay? We all in the profession, we all believe in the work that we do in psychology. So sometimes your supervisor can make the suggestion if we see that you're struggling in your personal capacity, because we don't fulfill that role. Does that make sense?
I think that's an important thing to remember, because you're going to build a relationship with your supervisor this year that is closer than what you have done necessarily maybe with your lecturers, and you're going to want to share things like that with them. However, we still have a responsibility to make sure that we hold you accountable to the outcomes that we need at the end of practicum, and that becomes difficult when we're sharing on a therapist client basis.
It's a different relationship. Okay. Okay, I think I said all of this. All right, so what does a supervisor do? Your supervisor, and especially for the new supervisors, I think this is a nice little checklist. They do check your logbooks and see that you're logging. You log as you go. You will not remember on Friday what you did Monday. Okay, so you need to build in time in your schedule to log your hours every day. If you log your hours every day, it takes 10 minutes a day. If you sit on Friday, you have to build out 2 hours because remembering is also part of it. And then you're going to miss out. Our students have never had a lack of hours. In fact, most students, most of the time, go over their hours. And often I say, but you were at school from 8 to 3. You were there for 7 hours. You've only logged 3. What were you doing for the other 4? You forgot. And then you do a disservice to yourself. Okay. So make sure that you have time in your day to log hours. If you're seeing clients, don't do 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Make space for yourself to breathe, to write your notes, and to log your hours. There's enough time. I'll show you a little math equation now, just to give you the reality of what you actually need to do. All right. So the first thing is that your supervisor checks your logbook on a Monday. If your logbook isn't up to date, they can't check it. We had incidences in the previous years where students would come and their logbook would be so far behind that I did not allow them to go back to site. If your case notes aren't up to date and if your logbook isn't up to date, I cannot allow you back on site because you're going to get further and further behind. Okay. So if you know, you can see on your Monday schedule, Monday coming up, I'm seeing my supervisor. We have to look at the logbook and go through case notes. Make sure things are up to date by that Friday for the Monday. Okay. And that's what I'm saying. I think it's all about your organization. And if you know, you're like me and you're really bad at admin, because I'm really bad at organizing and admin, get someone to help you. We've got SDS that sat with some of our students last year and just help them with a plan and a routine. If that's not in your wheelhouse, it's okay. Just know that that's not in your wheelhouse and make a plan. All right. So discuss cases. After checking the logbooks, we discuss our cases. So you will go to your supervisor and say, I've taken in this new client. This kind of is the background. This is my plan. These are my goals. This is what I contracted the client for this amount of sessions. This is what I'm thinking of doing with the client. And we know counseling takes on a life of its own, and sometimes it shifts even if we plan, and that's okay. But we go in with a plan, right? And you need to know how to contract. We don't just do intakes. There's intake and counseling and terminating. You need to know how to do the whole process. Okay, so if we start seeing that you're doing a lot of intakes but you never get to the full, we're going to question that, right? Sometimes it does happen that you have to refer and etc., and that's fine. But you also have to show us that you can do the whole process. But that's something your supervisor will pick up on. So we discuss and plan and look at theoretical integration. We also question, from what perspective are you looking at when you look at this situation? Have you considered attachment? Have you considered? So there's integrating what you've learned in the last year into the cases that you're working with, because you're also going to do a case presentation. I want to see you using some of your developmental psych. You cannot counsel without that. You need to know that if a teenager is struggling with identity, what does that speak to? Okay? So yeah, consider how you're managing professionally. Where are you kind of needing assistance? So Ronnie, I'm struggling with this admin. I'm really struggling to kind of find, so reflecting on your professional capacity and where you need to grow. I know, for example, those of you that work in schools, every year we have students saying, I don't know how to handle the teachers. The teachers ask so many questions, what do we do? You know, chat with your supervisor around. That's a professional activity. Right, record keeping. Guys, this is incredibly important. You have to keep your records safe. You cannot write case notes and have them lying around, copying them on a copy machine and leaving it on the copier, having diaries and little bookies lie around for someone to see with personal information of your clients. It's not only a disciplinary at Cornerstone, it's a disciplinary at HBCSA level. Record keeping needs to be confidential, and it needs to be safe. If you store it on a Google Drive, you need to have all your passwords and your protections on there. We even heard at CISA this year, which was really interesting, if you're using ChatGPT for stuff, you can't use open source AI because that's uploaded, it's available. So if you're using AI, you need to have the paid for versions that is safe and it has a password because it's safeguarding clients. And still pseudonyms, yeah. Pseudonyms and abbreviations. Even in your case notes that you have uploaded onto your Google Drive, when you finish writing your note, today I saw Sharon, now it's Mrs. S. Today I saw Mrs. S, this is what happened, this is what we did, this is and you upload it for Natalie to read. There's a pseudonym or abbreviation, no identifiable information. Okay.
Sorry, can I just add there? Except for your psychometrics. Your psychometric report is completely different because that is a document that you're actually going to be giving to the parents. So that document and your psychometric supervisors will keep that same confidentiality around it. But there we need to know it was Johnny Pochenpoel, grade 2 at Brackenfell Primary School. So there we are giving you, we need the details. Because that you're going to give, but the psychometric supervisors will adhere to POPI Act. We will keep things safe that you send to us.
Okay.
Maybe just want to also just what's good practice as you go into your sites. Some sites require you to use their consents, their intakes. You will be given intake forms and things from us as Cornerstone, but specific sites require you to use their documentation and have certain rules and obligations around what gets copied, what gets stored, and all of that. So please make sure that as you go onto site, that those are one of the very first things that you cover. Is there a specific intake that I have to use and complete for you? Sometimes you will also see certain sites are NGOs and NPOs, and so they have to complete certain forms for stats purposes and funds purposes and stuff like that. Unfortunately, this is the lovely world of admin. And so just please make sure that you know from your site immediately what forms have to be completed and if there's specific rules as to where it needs to be stored and access to that, because certain sites will also have something that locks up that cupboard and it is only there from X time to X time, and then you've got a client and you're coming in earlier, you're staying in later, and then you don't have access to your notes. So just be aware of that. And then you need to kind of negotiate with your site in terms of what your process note looks like and that kind of stuff. Okay.
So most of the time we do allow, if there's a specific note-taking method at site, that you can upload that for your Google Drive as well. You can just redact the names if the site is comfortable with that. Okay, so if the site says you can do it by redacting the name, then you don't have to do two sets of note, one for Cornerstone and one for the site. Then you just upload the site's note, just make sure it's safe and that the site has given you permission. If the site doesn't want to give you permission, then we'll have a discussion around how can we simplify that you have two sets of notes and not let it take you too long. We can figure it out together, but that hasn't really happened. Usually they allow us to use their forms and do either photos or scans of it if we redact. Okay.
Please find that out.
Yeah.
Every year we have that some organizations have changed or updated.
Yeah, so just make sure.
And then 2 weeks into your practicum, you have to redo 2 weeks of note taking. So don't do that to yourself.
Yeah, no one wants to do that twice. Okay. All right, are you still okay? Is everybody breathing? Okay, right, it's all here. You will hear this a lot. We ask, we'll go through this as we go. In terms of record keeping, also know that with every client you see, you must have written consent that you're working with that client. Okay, never a patient, always a client, that you're working with that client, number one. Most schools, and I know Jean Lowe that I've worked with, Protea Heights, they have their own form that they send to the parent to say, we want to refer your child for counseling, are we allowed? And that's the consent form. So you upload their consent form, then you don't make your own one. So you don't, they have their own one. But if they don't have a specific consent form, then you use your own one. Okay, just make sure your client gives consent to the counseling space, that they know that you're a student-registered counselor under supervision.
Their own forms must be on a Cornerstone letterhead.
Yeah. So if you don't have a form and you want your own form, it must be on a Cornerstone letterhead. You can ask me for that. It's part of the packy.
Divorced parents.
Yeah, let's talk about that quickly. If there's divorced parents, the practice is to get permission from both. Okay? Otherwise, we're making it very difficult for ourselves. If there is circumstances why one parent isn't available, discuss it with your supervisor. Don't make an executive call. There is sometimes certain situations, but we try and avoid that. We rather say, make it a rule of thumb, both need to give permission.
Just a quick question. With the WCD, we have to get the DB 120 to make sure that we can counsel, but we also have to give our own consent form to the parents to let them know that we are students and we're not.
If that form covers that, if they say that they know that you're doing counseling and they know that you're a student, if it covers that, then it's the consent form. Okay.
The DBE 120 doesn't have that in it.
Okay.
So normally what the students did is they would send the DBE 120 and then just an additional one that has a letter. It's not consent, it's just a letter that you send with the DBE, because it's difficult because most of the teachers will just send out the DBE 120 and then you get it. And then, so then you just make sure that if it hasn't been sent before the time, that when you see that child, that on that day that you do see the child, that you just send the email with that written letter. It's just a letterhead that you, on a Cornerstone letterhead, just say that you are under supervision. That letter is important to make sure that you have your Cornerstone student number. Your HPCSA
Student number.
must be on there, okay? And then you're under supervision and you can usually sign that as well.
But you can just have a chat with your WCD because I've done this before. Yeah.
When there's contention, because it happens with divorce, the parent that feels the child needs counseling can just go to the children's court and ask for a Form 2 in the court. Well, then.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If there's those circumstances, rather go through your supervisor to get the right documentation stuff in place. The easiest rule is to say get both, but if it can't work, then there needs to be a discussion.
Is it the psych counselor or the suicide supervisor or the Cornerstone supervisor?
The Cornerstone supervisor. Just make sure we know, okay? Because remember, Cornerstone also is liable if something happens or the father or the mother sues. They don't sue you, they sue us. Okay. I think so. Right. Let's not get sued. Okay. Okay. So consent, confidentiality, that's always number one. Protocol, ensure the student complies with confidentiality laws, informed consent that we just spoke about. Ethical dilemmas is a collaborative space. With ethics, you will learn there's never a right way. There's options of ways that are most suitable or not suitable. So it's hard to say, you know, when this happens, this is always the answer. That's what ethics is. It's gray. It's never black and white. It's always gray. So if you have an ethical issue and you don't know what best case scenario is because the one HPCSA guideline says this, but then the Bill of Rights says that, and what do I actually need to do? That's why we have supervision. Even in real life practice, I still go for supervision specifically because of those situations that pop up. Okay. Address all your review all your Monday presentation slides. The supervisor needs to do that. If you're doing your group or site presentation, you cannot present, you will not be allowed to present if your supervisor hasn't given you an okay. Okay, can I say that again? You will not be allowed to present in any venue at Cornerstone if your presentation has not been okayed by your Cornerstone supervisor. You cannot send, and this happens every year, you cannot send your presentation on a Friday afternoon, 5 o'clock, to your supervisor and say, I'm presenting Monday at 10. They have a life. Catherine is hiking. You cannot bother. You cannot expect us to work on weekends, okay? We set we're the role models, okay? We're not going to do that. We don't work on weekends, and if we do, you don't need to know about that, okay? The email will go out Monday morning, 8 o'clock. The point is plan. So if you see, and you already have your Monday schedule, you know when you're presenting what. Okay, well, you'll at the end of the day, okay? You'll know who your supervisor is. But the point is, you need to plan for it. So if you know you're presenting in a week, give your supervisor at least 4 or 5 work days to look through your PowerPoint. It's usually not a lot of work for us to look at, and mostly we say, oh, this is nice, maybe add here or there. It's not a lengthy exercise, but we need to see and review that before you present, because if you present something and it's not accurate, or you use the wrong legal framework or whatever, and we didn't catch that, then you're teaching all your colleagues information that's not great for them to hear. So make sure that your supervisor thinks through it with you and that you present something that's been okayed. Yes.
Is that also about any presentations we do at our sites?
Yes. Even if you're presenting, say WCD does that bullying week that they do, and then they ask you to write, they will review, but we also want to review. Because we're sending you to the public, you're still a student, we have to make sure that the information that the public is getting is okay.
I just want to say, I want us again to remember the start of this. This is not to review it to shout at you or to say to you it's wrong or it's right. It's because we've been in your space before. We can say logistically, think about this, how it might help, or adapt this, or maybe try to look at the language. It's there to guide you. It's not to say you've done it wrong. Okay, and I think that's important, that if you have that insight and saying, setting it out to just have somebody double scan it that's done this before, similar in the spaces to guide me in thinking of maybe, even Sarani today, I think she's presented this workshop, I don't know how many times, still said to us, have a look at it, just double check it, check my eyes, cross my T's. So it's just about being able to have another set of eyes of somebody that's done this before. And I want you, that as you go through this practicum, to keep that in mind. We are no longer here marking your things right and wrong. We're here to guide you that you're competent at the end of this. Okay, and that's what's important.
100%. All right, there is an ethics paper that you'll also see on your Monday schedule. So I want you to start thinking about that throughout the year. As you go through practicum, there might pop up a certain situation where it was an ethical challenge. By the end of practicum, we're going to ask you to each write on a situation that you came across, that you had an ethical process, thinking process. What did you do? What was the outcome? What did you consider? You know, kind of what did that look like in terms of getting to an end result? But you can't know what you're going to write on yet. It is still going to happen, all right? I think it gives you practice into supervision and how to address ethics, but also it prepares you for board exam, because board exam is almost solely about ethics. So it's a nice exercise to draw in some of the Mental Health Act or the Bill of Rights or Form 258 or whatever. Okay. Then also, and again, I'm saying a lot of things, but it's on here, you will be evaluated in April and in June. Okay, the idea of the April evaluation is, and this is your responsibility, you have to send your rubric to your site supervisor and your cornerstone supervisor and say, fill it in by. Okay, you need to follow up that this happens. Okay, so in April, your cornerstone supervisor will fill in a rubric and your site supervisor to see how are you doing. Because then we can sit with you and say, I see you struggling, you haven't really done a lot of reading. Where are you? How can we help? Right? Or I see you've written, and this happens, for example, you've written so much in terms of individual counseling, but I don't see a lot of group happening at the moment. How's that going? So it's kind of a tracking of how you are doing, where do you need assistance, how do we get you from April to June? Because by April, we can still make a lot of plans before we get to June, July. But I can't make those plans if I don't know. So April is kind of just a stop, a pause, a checking in. How's it going? Okay. And I did somewhere on the slides, but in the practicum, we have a saying in the faculty, this year is not about grades. It's not about passing. It's not about doing well. It's not about crossing everything and saying, I did it, I did it, I did it. This is handed in. It's an exercise. It's autopilot. It's about competency. when you leave here, I want to know that you can step into your own space, whether at a school, private practice, NGO, wherever you find yourself working, step into that space and feel comfortable in your own skin doing the work of an RST. Working in the community, working with groups, working with clients, that you feel, I know what I'm doing. Well, to an extent, that's why we have supervision. But mostly I know what I'm doing. Okay. So it's about competency. And so we are growing you in that competency. Right. Next one, please. Okay, we said this, every student site is different. Mostly we expect around 8 to 4 from a Tuesday to a Friday. Usually not over weekends. Should there be hours outside of visits, and that needs to be provided for in your week then for self-care, rest and admin, manage your time. 720 hours over 6 months is 120 hours a month, is 30 hours a week. Most people work 40 hours a week. So 30 hours a week seems manageable. Okay? If you keep logging your time correctly. So 30 hours in a 5-day week, and remember you count Mondays, eh? Every time you sit in a cornerstone class, that's workshops and presentation times. There's admin times, supervision hours you log. Not traveling. Not traveling. But from a Monday to a Friday you log. That's 6 hours a day. Okay? Actually that you log. So if you work from 8 to 2 o'clock, that's 6 hours. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of people often say when they work in schools, yeah, but we don't get a full school day. 8 to 2 is okay. 6 hours. Which means you can still go for a hike, you can still go for a coffee, you can still sleep, eat, and spend time with your family. So please, if you manage your time slowly, and surely you will have time. Because remember, even if you sit and write case notes, that's logged hours. If you're working on your portfolio of evidence, you log hours. If you're reading your report for the first time, you log hours. Everything you do for prac, you log. So if, and I don't want you to do this, but if at night you sit and you feel like, I'm going to read through my notes in preparation for tomorrow and read a little bit of Gabor Mate or Bessel van der Kolk, and that's reading time, that's professional development, you log hours. Okay, so I always feel I make it sound so easy, and I know it isn't, but to get 6 hours a day is fairly easy. And what we usually say in the beginning, you'll see next week, now you're all there, guns blazing, ready to go, logbook sorted out, I'm going to do this. And then for the first hour, it's like, creak, 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 creak. You don't have clients yet. You don't have groups yet. You don't have a community project yet. And you're like, oh, I'm sitting here doing nothing. How do I log this? Read. Start making a PowerPoint on something that you're passionate about. There's so much you can do before starting. Take out your trauma guidelines and go through them again. Set up a PowerPoint on something that you know your site might find benefit in. Those working with children. What are the themes? Emotional dysregulation, bullying, communication, conflict resolution skills. Start writing these things because you know when your manager comes to you and says, I want you to present a workshop, you can go, I have one actually on. You know how impressed they're going to be. Okay? So don't sit and waste time. There's always something to do. Okay? And then you log it. I'll show you how to do evidence for that as well. Right? Because everything needs evidence, but it's easy. We've got a plan. Remember, school holidays can affect your planning. So I'm saying now every week you do 30 hours, and then the school's closed for 3 weeks, and then you sit with 90 hours not done. And then everybody's angry. So Ronnie, you said that. You can still do holiday clubs. You can join, and this is something I have to say. If some of your colleagues are doing certain outreaches and community projects that doesn't fall under your site, but you want to join them because you've got school holiday, we just need to be made aware of it, And the site that you're assisting just needs to write us a note saying, Johannes is joining Isolet this week at Melkbos. He's helping with the bullying week. If I have a note saying that they're okay with him being there, then he can log those hours. And he can join a colleague and work a bit in that collaborative space.
So I think maybe just on that about holiday clubs and things that they need to be psychologically related.
Yeah, 100%. Not just daycare. Don't babysit and call it practicum. But if there's psychological acts, for example, I know was it the year before that Sarah and them, they had an intervention week with children with emotional regulation skills. It was at a foster care site, and there were a lot of kids during the holiday that stayed there. And they did like little emotional programs with them every day, and they could log that as community hours. Okay, because everybody was on school holiday, right? So there are things like that you can do. There are groups that you can run, support group for parents, support groups for women who struggle with identity, whatever it might be. If you're doing stuff like that beyond your site, just make sure we know about it and that you have permission. And then you can also use that in addition to your site. Some sites don't have as much in terms of community. If you're passionate about something in your community, come talk to us about that. Okay, and maybe we can make that part of PractIcum. All right. Daily, we said that make it a practice to sit with your logbook daily. All right, we're almost there where we can take a break. So in that Google Drive that you'll have access to, the onboarding doc that I sent last year already, you've had time to kind of squeeze through that. It is in there again. Everything is somewhere in there. Kendall is great with this. When a student asks, what does this mean? And she said, did you check your module outline? Okay. Check the module outline first. Everything should be there. You're welcome to ask the question if you can't find it. I'm just saying everything should be logged. Okay. All is in the module outline. Compulsory that you have to know Mondays, you have to be on site. It's non-negotiable. It's not a voluntary thing. It's a compulsory attendance. If you miss Mondays, we will phone you in and say, where were you? Okay. Logbook, compulsory to keep up to date, case notes, compulsory. And then on our new LMS Moodle platform, I think it's launching on the 9th of Feb when classes open, you'll have a site for Psych PractIcum. And on that site, we're going to ask you to upload certain things. Okay, so you need to check that. Chantal usually does a beautiful breakdown of when what is due on which date for which report. Okay, so everything will be loaded. It's really pretty. If you like an Excel spreadsheet, it's like mind-blowing, okay? So remember to check your dates, right? There will be activities that you need to complete. Your logbook needs to be signed. If I check logbooks and it hasn't been signed in a month, that's unethical. Okay, please. What can you reflect in your logbook? And this is where it gets fun. This is where I get excited. When you're doing reading, not Tani Maria stories, reading as in full practicum, eh? All right? You can log. If you're reading Gabor Mate, or you're reading something on Erickson again, or you are going through some of your old textbooks, right? And it pertains to what you're working with, you can log those hours, okay? At the end of the day, there's also a section where you add your reading list. So every time you read, you start building a little reference list, like a bibliography of everything that you've read. Okay? You have to write notes for your individual sessions, your group sessions, and presentations you attend. Okay? We start off the year and everybody has beautiful case notes. Beautiful. They write too much. We're like, you're writing too much, you know? And then by the end, it's like 3 sentences. Okay? Find the balance. That you write your case notes, and your supervisor will help you a lot here in terms of just making sure your case notes say enough, but you're not writing case notes for 3 hours. Okay? Sharon taught me something very valuable. You're not getting paid to write notes. You can't bill for that when you're in practice, right? So why would you spend 3 hours on that? Okay? You must learn how to write, essentially, how to write so that you cover what happened in case you get sued. We don't get sued a lot, but if you do, but anyway, that you have all the just and all the crosses and T's and I's, but you need to learn how to do that efficiently, okay? In the beginning, it does take longer. When you start writing case notes, you'll see a client for 45 minutes, and then you'll maybe write your notes for 30 minutes, okay? But that shouldn't be the balance, okay? You should see a client 45 minutes, write notes for 15 minutes, or see a client for an hour and write notes for 15, 20 minutes. You need to start getting into the habit of doing it strategically and thinking around how you do that. I don't know if anybody has tips for that. I think it just becomes your own voice in your own practice.
I think it's something that you kind of need to chat through with your supervisors. So I think, again, sites sometimes might have specific formats that need to be completed.
Yeah, and I'll show you our format as well. That helps.
Typically, I do want to encourage you to speak to your cornerstone supervisor and go, I've done it this way. I'm reflecting on it. I'm thinking like I need to work on this. I need to work on this. So it's part of your growth as well. And I really want to emphasize, come to supervision prepared. Don't just rock up and go, I'm here at supervision. Okay. What do you need guidance with? What if you reflected on yourself that you're doing good at, and what do you need help in? What needs to be tweaked? What needs to be helped? What areas are you needing help in? But I think to just also be mindful that your note taking is what's happening in your session and your prep time for your next session as well. So it's an amalgamation of that. So if you, after intake is normally like the longest time of prep, because then you're going, okay, where am I going? What theory am I using? How am I contracting? And how am I kind of plotting sessions? And then you're going to go from there. So speak to your supervisor about that after your intake and go, this is how I'm going to do it. How does it go? Okay.
Can I add to that?
Please.
What helped for me in practicum to remember things that I want to bring to supervision is to have an open draft somewhere, either on a note app or whatever the case may be. So when I think of something that happens, you'll run to the bathroom, pee break, and then you'll think, oh, I want to ask my supervisor. At the end of the day, you've already forgotten, right? So jot it down, shorthand, and then a day or two before supervision, send that email to your supervisor. It doesn't have to be long, just so that they know this is what I want to quickly speak about, so that they can also prepare. Because I can promise you, we don't always know everything. So I might also go back to Sarani and say, Sarani, I can't remember lekker, but so yeah,
that's a good tip. Yeah. Okay, but case notes will be a frustration in the beginning. No one likes writing case notes. If you do, come teach me your, mantra or something. But it's something that you develop. It's a skill, and it's very personal. Every counselor will do it differently, and that's okay as long as you cover the gist of it. Okay, right. And we're going to do note-taking practice on Wednesday. When you come in on Wednesday, that's not Wednesday. Come in on Wednesday, we're going to do some note-taking. I'm going to show you examples. We're going to write a few notes. We're going to look at each other's notes and just get a sense of what it... I know you guys also did some of that in the Psych interventions class. But just as a refresher, what does it feel like, look like? And then you can ask all the questions. Okay, so we'll practice that because note-taking is always a question, right? So writing notes, preparing your presentations. You can add the research for your presentations to your reading list as well. Attending meetings. You will have meetings wherever you are that they ask you to attend. Those meetings, you can log those hours. You can log making phone calls for the sake of practicum, not phoning your mom, but phoning and say you have to, right. Answering emails, you can log those hours. Seeing clients, obviously, hosting groups, attending groups. So what we had last year, some of the students were really creative. And they said, you know what, one of the groups might say, we really don't have a lot of expertise in terms of working with children, and a lot of us are working with children. So let's start a working with children support group for the counseling students, you guys. And then they met Tuesday nights at 7 online, and they did like a workshop every week. Someone would present something that they could do in sessions. And you could log that as group. Okay, right? But just chat to your supervisors about that. So a lot of sites don't have capacity to give you 20 groups. And remember, group work is just as much work as individual. We all think we're going to see individual clients. This is not what Psych is about. It's community and group with a little individual. Okay? So sometimes it's not enough at your site. Then you create your own. Okay? We even had a reading group where they would share articles. Every week someone would bring an article, they would share a psychological article, some theory to it, and discuss how's that applicable in their own sites and have discussion on that, like you would do for CPD groups. Okay, so
for example, you do have like a reading group where is the students involved. How would they log it differently, the person who's presenting versus the people who are attending that particular week?
okay, so it depends on how it's structured. So the person who's presenting will then be able to log it as his group, as in group counseling, right? And those attending will then attend as they attend a workshop. But what we did last year that gave it a nice spin was to say, like, if you need group hours, make sure that you're a collective that all present. So if you're 5 in the group and every time someone else presents, then you can log that as a group, because that's a group exercise, because you're also going to form and storm and norm and do all of that, right? And there's discussion that takes place. But then there has to be a formal plan that you submit to your supervisor saying, for the first 10 minutes we did this, for the next 20 minutes we did this, for the last 10 minutes we did this. There needs to be structure, preparation, planning. It has to be formalized, okay? It can't be a lacquer chat on a Tuesday night and we call it group. Okay, so yes.
It's like just an agenda, so what's the points that are covered and a reflection on the agenda.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's
As the evidence.
Just an outline of 10 minutes icebreaker, covered this theory, like an outline, an agenda, and a reflection
Yeah.
on the hour.
So how do you put this in your logbook, for example? I'll show you. In the logbook, you'll have reflection time. So these all can be logged with evidence, all right? And like I said there, when you write notes, you don't only write case notes for Johannes saw Sarani and he's writing a case note on his session with Sarani. But Johannes also did a group with that table, table 2. And the table 2 group he has 3 sessions with. He needs to write a note on every session that he had with the group in the same way that he would write for Sarani. Okay? So last year we started and the students said, oh, do we have to write notes for group? Yes, please write notes for group. Okay, so also for the presentations you're attending, if you sit into the Monday presentations, because we're going to have workshops for you, your evidence is your notes. Okay, so if Chantal is presenting next week on Form 22, you have to write a reflection. What did you learn from Chantal? What were areas that you didn't know or that you knew, or what was interesting? It doesn't have to be 3,000 word essay. It can be 200-300 words just in a paragraph saying what is your reflection on what happened at workshop, because then you can log it because you've got evidence. All right, so everything can be logged in that space. Even if you do CPDs, I can't remember, they can keep their CPDs because it's around over 3 years. I don't know. Is it? Okay, sorry, you can't use CPDs. It's just for fun then. It's just for fun. All right, and then you've got 2 journals. Now, this is very important. Again, shame, guys, this is a lot of info, but okay. A lot of importance here. 2 journals. Your one journal is for logging your evidence. So you're sitting into Chantal's lecture, you're reflecting on it. This is your evidence that you've been there. Okay, I'll show you that journal because it's in the logbook. You don't have to make that one. Okay, that's the one that if Sarani checks a student's work and I say, Sandra, give me your student stuff. I just want to check their logbooks. I can see if they said they attended Chantal, I can go to the journal and say, okay, there's the reflection. It matches, okay? The other journal, the personal journal, is just between you and your supervisor. Sarani never gets to see that one, okay? That personal journal is not for your own psyche. It's just to say, how are you doing throughout the practicum? So you will write a note. So some of the students like to write something every day. Some of the students will write Friday for the week, but you need to cover every week, okay? To say, this week was really hard for me. I struggled with the admin. I feel like I didn't stay on top of it. I'm really tired. Next week, we will write, I had the best session ever. The client told me stuff has shifted for them. I feel amazing, right? The idea is that as a supervisor, we get insight into how are you doing? Are you burning out? Are you fine? Are you still okay? What's happening in terms of the practicum, okay? You don't have to give insight in terms of family stuff. I don't want you to overshare. Remember, we're not your psychologist. But you can maybe make mention, you've had some family issues this week, which has kind of impacted you personally. You can make mention of that so that I just know I need to check in with you. Okay? But that's for you and your supervisor. Yes.
So I just want to highlight that the workshops in CPD, you can still use the points as a student, but you have to be strategic as to when you do it. So you write your board exam in October, you then officially registered from, let's say, January, you're going to need points then already because you need to be compliant. So I would suggest start doing your CPD workshops like halfway through the year because you can carry those points over.
Okay.
Because it's valid for a year.
Yeah, makes sense.
Certificate, so it's valid for a year. Then you already have a head start.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
That's a really good tip.
Just from my experience with the personal journals, for me, just quality over quantity. So it's not necessarily helpful for us as supervisors if it's just like a free writing, like done of everything, which I know is needed sometimes, but I don't have time to read like loads of pages. So even like bullets points, per day usually is better for me.
Yeah.
But it depends.
It's just to see where you are at. 100%. It's not a Freudian stream of conscious. Please. I don't have time for that. Okay. But like Catherine has said, if you can maybe just highlight how you're doing. Okay. Not that you are not important, you are very important. Okay. But it's just the highlights for the purpose that it's intended for.
It's not journaling. You can still do journaling if that's your process to help you. So that's the journaling is your own private one. But this journal that is being supervised is
it's just
key points.
Yeah, key points. How are you doing in the practicum? Overwhelmed, underwhelmed, just whelmed. Where are you?
I think that can also link nicely to the tip that you gave around what to focus on for supervision.
Yeah, that's actually
kind of guide.
Yeah, that's actually quite nice. To make it relatable. All right, Chantal. Logbook. Do's and don'ts. Okay. Yes, you have a question.
So, because you're going to have to, right?
Yeah.
Do you write the same thing or?
No, because we don't want double work. The professional journal is to reflect on activities. So I sat into Chantal's workshop. It was super incredible. She's an amazing presenter, and the work was great. Okay? Your personal journal, I'm so tired, that was long. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. We said a lot of this all contributes to it, practicum being logged. Travel times cannot be logged as part of practicum. You drove from Somerset West to Cornerstone and you're logging the 30 minutes. Gabby can't log her 30 minutes. Okay? You can't log your 30 minutes.
Unless you're listening to a podcast while you're
But then you're logging the podcast. So then you're clever, like Sandra. Be more like Sandra. Or yeah.
Some of you might have to, you'll find yourself sometimes having to travel quite far to schools or something like that. So be mindful of that. So if you know you'll be traveling half an hour, put a podcast on and listen to the podcast. Whenever you have to reflect on the podcast.
Yeah.
You got to concentrate. Can't just log the half an hour podcast.
You have evidence.
But then use your time optimally.
Yeah. So you can do that if there's reflection and evidence in your professional journal. Okay? The other thing that the WCED often does is they drive you to site and they drive you back. And then often when you're driving with the ed psychs or the other psychologists, they do debriefing in the car because they know when they hit the WCED center, there's no time for discussion. We've got half an hour in the car. What did you do? What did you say? How did you feel? Right? That's debriefing and supervision. You can log that again if you have your professional journal as evidence. So I know some of the students said last year they learned the most ever in the car because that's where they get the psychologist to sit still and have a conversation. Okay, right? All training from sites, personal training that you do on your own, if you attend workshops around your fields of interest, all of that can be logged if you've got that evidence in your logbook. All right? A formalized schedule with a letterhead, a training guide, a note from the facilitator, reflection riddle, all of those are examples of evidence. Okay? Your supervisor can just sign this off just to double check that you are not logging, I don't know, a Barney show or something. Yeah, you can just upload a photo.
So your professional journal evidence is not just like your reflective paragraph.
It can also be a certificate, it can be a photo, it can be the flyer of the invite for the CPD function. So if you don't reflect on it, there just needs to be something else. So whatever you log as professional development, workshops attended, that just needs to correlate to your professional. So if you say 16 January orientation, then in the 16 January block for professional development in your journal, there must be something around the orientation.
So the dates seem to have some correlation between.
Because that's what I check. I check your logbook and I check where's the evidence. Where's the evidence? And you'll see now, it will make more sense when I open the logbook. Okay. We're almost there, guys. I keep saying that, but anyway. Must be signed. You know this community work can be on site or at another site, but you need MOUs if you're going to other sites. Yes.
Sorry, must our logbooks and both journals be digital and on the drive?
Preferably, because it's easier for the supervisor. I know there were some students that wanted to write, but it just makes a hassle to get it to me, to get it back, to get it to me. So I know that's some people's process. If you want to write, then take a photo and upload the photo. If you have...
Sorry, there has to be a digital print of it because if HPCSA comes and they do an audit, you have to have everything. That's why.
Yeah, but not the personal journal, I think. Yeah. Yeah, and here I say community work must pertain to the field of psychology or mental health. No volunteering at soup kitchens and Sunday schools, please. Okay? It's good that you do that. Keep doing it, but don't log it as well. Okay, someone even logged filling in a master's application as, you can't do that. Please don't do that. All right.
Just on point number 5, it's important, you know, when you even interview for your master's, at some point they look if you are psychologically minded. If you are volunteering at a food kitchen and you can do an intervention with the kitchen staff, be psychologically minded, then you can. If you have a foot in at an MPO and you're doing other things, how can you impact them? Because it's an ecosystem, right? How can you impact them and use that time effectively? Then you can log it. So always ask yourself, am I being psychologically minded in this space? How can I impact this space? Then it's possible. But then again, the evidence, the reflections, those are important.
100%. All right, and then what we started doing about 3 years ago is our very exciting community group projects, which we'll talk about more on Wednesday. You will be divided, as you saw in the Monday schedule. You'll do individual supervision with your cornerstone supervisor, and the week thereafter, you'll do group supervision, which means we're going to split this group into 2. One group will be a group, and the other group will be a group, and you will have supervision as a group. We will have lecturers sit into that, where you supervise each other. So Isolette will come with a case, and Janneke will give us a solution. Okay, there will be like a back and forth, because we need to know how to do group supervision. So we're going to do that as a practice. We do that every year. But what is nice in that group supervision space, what we started doing a few years ago, is to say that each group needs to come at the end of the practicum with an output. Something we can keep in the library, something we can print, something we can give to the community, right? Last year, the students, the one group, made a lay counseling handbook, manual for the police station for policemen doing lay counseling that often don't have counseling skills. Just basic things, active listening, paraphrasing, containment, just little things that could help them because that's something they were working in that field. The other group did a detention booklet for kids in detention, but with behavior stuff, like reflecting on their selves. And it was really a very lovely book, and it was beautiful, and they could fill in and everything. So they could give it to the schools that they were at as a free resource, saying, if you're doing detention, you might as well do something that's uplifting to the kids, like a restorative justice type vibe. But anyway, so what that looked like, we have students, the previous year, the students had a podcast that they did, that they released. I don't know if it was on Instagram or Facebook or somewhere, that they did podcasts as part of their community outreach. We've had resources for teachers, how to facilitate emotions in the classroom. You know, so it can really be anything psychologically minded that you as a group feel you can give at the end of the practicum and say, there's the book, there's the manual, there's the podcast, there's the poster, whatever you want to create. So start thinking around that, because in your groups, you'll have to have an output. It's compulsory, okay? But what's nice about that, you log it as community hours. Okay, so if you're doing a manual and you're creating worksheets and you're getting people involved and you're going to do needs analysis at certain groups of people, all of that can be logged as community hours. So it has a double whammy. You have an output, which is a lovely resource that we want to give back to the community, but you also gain hours. Okay, so that's a community group project that we will chat about more on Wednesday. Then for individual clients, what you cannot log, you have to log the face-to-face real-time, and you can do online sessions, but we need to get a balance. You can't just be doing online. Okay, face-to-face is important. And then also, sometimes clients don't attend, right? And then students log an hour. I get that you were planning on that being a client, but it wasn't. So we've said you can log 15 to 20, no, where's the other one? I think it was said 15 minutes for a client. 15. 15 minutes for a client not pitching, and then 15 to 20 minutes is for allowing notes. That can be in your individual hours. So the bulk of your individual hours needs to be face-to-face. I saw the client time.
Remember, that's also what you would bill for in private practice.
Yeah.
You can't bill if the person didn't arrive. You actually, medical aid won't pay you. You would bill privately and say that the lost money has to be recovered before I see you again. But in real time, if people don't show, they don't pay. So
Yeah.
You can't log.
So if they don't attend, you can log the 15 minutes of the effort that you made. Remember, you're still logging your reading before the time, and you can log. And if you sit with an hour, you've got stuff to do. There's always stuff to do. Okay. Yeah, your writing session notes cannot be more than the face-to-face hours. You can't have in your logbook individual hours, note writing, client, note writing, client. It can't. It must be client, a little bit of notes, client. You see what I'm saying? Because we're trying to get your capacity in working with clients, not writing notes. Okay.
In the beginning, though, it's going to take longer to
Yeah.
write your notes. So you can only log 15 minutes in your individual. The rest you can log in your admin.
Yeah,
part
you can do
section,
that.
But again, we will make that. You still can't log an hour of note taking.
Yeah.
So it will get. I do want to say this. It takes long in the beginning, and then it becomes a second nature to you. So it does get faster. It does patient.
So you are allowed in the beginning, but your supervisor will stop it at one point. You are allowed in the beginning to say that you wrote, say you really wrote 40 minutes. 15 minutes you can put in your individual log. The other 25 minutes you put in your admin log. But admin hours are the first ones done. And then students say, but I've done all my admin hours and I still have admin. You still have admin. Okay. We can be creative on where we put it. Pertaining to your logbook that you still need hours for. So if you see certain sections fill up, like the admin, speak to your supervisor, because sometimes there's stuff in there that you're doing that can also be community. Or it can also be preparing for a workshop, right? So remember the categories, see which one fits the best, but some of them will overlap. Some of them could be admin and preparing for a workshop. And so you log it where you need the hours, but you can't log it twice. Please don't do, because we've had that also. Preparing for my workshop, but it's preparing and it's admin, so I'll just log 2 hours instead of 1. So be careful for that. Someone had a hand up.
No, I was going to just reinforce that
Yeah.
you can't double log, but make sure that you log everything. We can always shift and move
Yes.
it around.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, also just remember we focused on case formulation and how you do your intervention plan. So that won't be a session note, but it's part of your admin. How you're going to, what's your strategy with the client, which will take a bit longer than the 15-20 minutes initially.
And we get asked this every year, can I log my preparation time? Yes, you can log your preparation time, okay? But I want to see evidence. So if you're saying you're preparing a PowerPoint, where's the PowerPoint? If you say you're making handouts, where's the handout? If you say you're doing reading, where's your reference list and your reflection? You see what I'm saying? So you can absolutely prepare and log those hours with evidence, with outputs, okay? Right.
So log your evidence as you log
Yeah.
your hours. Like, I've reflected on this. Logbook.
Yeah.
Guide.
Do it as one activity. Yeah. All right. Reading and listening part, it's all for professional development, again with professional journal attached to it. Next one. All right. This is what the logbook looks like. I've put it on that drive. And we can go through it on Wednesday a little bit, but you'll see, maybe go to that side, Chantal. So here is a beautiful table. You'll have tabs at the bottom that says individual where you log. I'll open it for you a little bit later. All your individual, all your group. But from those tabs, it goes to the summary table, which is quite nice to see how am I doing, how many hours have I completed, where am I at. And this is nice to check with your supervisor every second week to see, ooh, I'm filling up on those individuals quite fast, but I'm really not happy with the community hours at the moment. All right? Because look at what you need. 130 community, 100 group. That's 230 hours that's not individual counseling. Individual counseling is only 120. So if you work at it, we said you've got 720 hours to complete over 6 months. 120 hours a month. 30 hours a week, right? So if you're saying that in 24 months, you need 120, you can see 2 or 3 clients a week and still get there. You see what I'm saying, right? So be mindful that if you're seeing 5 clients a day, 3 days a week, you're going to run out. Rather say I see 2 clients a day, do a group, and spend an hour on community. Split your day as much as you can within the site that you're at. Sometimes the WCD doesn't give you time to split. It's just, but they are very aware of this. Okay. If you have more freedom around your diary, make sure that you do consider it's not about getting the 720. It is about managing what the workload of an RC looks like. And a bulk falls within community and group. Okay, so just look at it from that perspective. Your professional journals at the end, why these labels are here, there's tabs at the bottom. Most of my students last year didn't want to use the professional journal here because they felt it was a bit exposing, the personal, one. So they just did their own Word doc, which is fine. If you're happy for it to be there, then it's okay. But everything should be in those tabs at the bottom. And then you can track your progression. Okay. But you have the logbook, and I have a video that Jordan, who created this for us last year, made a video of how to navigate the logbook. I'll send that to you as well.
So, Ronnie, do you think that personal journal will come in quite useful if we do it if they use it like Anushka suggested, there's challenges that I'm having, and
Yeah.
almost use that as the guide.
As the guide for
as a guide
supervision.
For supervision
That's,
as well.
Can we do that? Can we not settle a contract that everybody does the same? So your professional journal is your evidence of everything you attended, Chantal's workshop, the group with your colleagues. But your personal journal is kind of the areas you want your supervisor to discuss with you.
And if you are adding it in here, you can actually lock the tabs at the bottom
Yeah.
with a little password. If it's easier just to work on one spot instead of having a Word doc and, you can actually lock it and then just give your supervisor
The password. Okay, you can do that as well. If you feel like you're sharing stuff that you don't want Sarani or Gabby or Kendall or whoever to see. Okay. So this is kind of what the logbook looks like. Like I said, with the little tabs at the bottom, we will open it at some point and just show you. We're just running a little bit at a time. We're not going to get any. Well, okay. There's just, again, the breakdown of the hours. It's very important to know it's not about completing the hours. It's making sure it's in the different sections. Having said that, some things will run over. Your psychometric assessments never stay at 60 hours, ever. But when you're done there with the report writing, you can also log them under admin and skill development because it's still part of a skill. But your supervisor will help. Just don't take freedom in writing. What is that free writing license? If you see I'm heading towards the end and there's still lots to do, say to your supervisor, what do I do now? Where do I log it? Ask your supervisor, okay? Because like I said, look there, 140 hours for materials developed, professional training, skills development. Most of that will be covered in your Monday classes. Case discussions, don't log anything there yet. Your case discussions is the ones that we're doing on site, okay? Yeah. It goes by very quickly. Right, next slide. All right, so you're going to set up a Google Drive for your supervisor so that your supervisor has real-time access to your logs, your whatever, okay? Because remember, if I am going to my boys' rugby this afternoon for 3 hours and I book myself out the office, I work back those 3 hours maybe from 6 to 9 tonight. And then I don't want to bother you in asking for your logbook every time. But I can go on when I can go on, right? So every student creates their own Google Drive, and they have these sections in the Google Drive to make it easy for the supervisor to know where to look for stuff. Okay. Everything pertaining to individual counseling, the consent form, the intake form, the case notes, you organize there under client. So you'll have client and you'll do your pseudonyms, client SS, double click on client SS, there's the content, consent form, the intake form, the case notes. Make it easy for me to find. I don't have your brain with me.
So I just want to say on this, something that students do quite often is have a pseudonym for your prize, but what is very important is that what you log in your logbook and what is your evidence folder needs to be the same. So if I've seen SK and it's session 1, then your note in your individual counseling folder needs to be SK session 1. Okay? Because sometimes you write a name or you don't say session 1. Now I've got 6 documents of SK. Well, which one is when? Okay? So make sure that what you put in your logbook, if it's SK session 1, that your notes is labeled SK session 1. Okay? And the same with your group, the same with all your other folders. So please just
Naming
make
is
sure
important,
that the
yeah.
name that's in your logbook and the name that's in your folder is copy and paste the same. Okay.
Okay, still with us? Because this makes it just easy for everybody. All right, your group's the same. You'll have your bereavement group, you'll have your bully group, you'll have your parent group. And in that group, if I click on it, there's the consent form, there's the session planning or the agendas for those sessions and your notes. Professional skills and development, if you attended some workshops and you have PowerPoint presentations or you made some, that will all go in there. Okay? Counseling session evaluation, that's where the rubrics will be found eventually. You leave it open, you're not allowed to see the rubrics yet. Okay? But we also have a video that you have to shoot that you can also upload in there. I'll talk about the video in a minute. Any admin. Notes of meetings. Discussions had in telephone conference. Anything that doesn't fall within these categories. So if I'm phoning according to an individual client, getting collateral, that will be in the individual client's file. That makes sense. But maybe you're phoning because you want to organize community outreach program and you have all the notes in that admin folder. Okay, you see what I'm saying? So all your admin can go there. Supervision. I like to make notes when my students come for supervision. We somewhere make notes together. We co-write our notes. And then you can upload the notes to your folder, just saying on this day we had supervision, this was kind of highlights of what was discussed. All your presentations that you make, and then your colleagues will often share their presentations, any presentations that you get, because this resource you keep. So when you go into private practice, you'll remember, okay, Nicole did a thing on bullying. I'm going to check her presentation because I'm going to use it in my present, whatever you're doing, all right? Psychometrics, everything community, anything other professional activities. I can't think of a lot now, but there is stuff. Podcast listening. Yeah, you can put links in there. And then
what about when like some MPOs expect you to man the reception desk? Is that other professional or is that admin?
So that's again, I would put it under other because you've got a lot of admin until that's filled up, and then it will go into admin because it can be both. Okay. All right, so this is what we want you to set up on Thursday, but I'll give you a rundown of that. That's really easy to do. Just get it and share it. Okay, we're supposed to have a little break, but it's already almost 12 o'clock. Can I just squeeze through the last section and then we can have a long break? 10 minutes. Okay, are you still okay? Right. It's a lot of the same. I think some of it just... So on the new LMS, I'll also make a list of things that need to be handed in before the end of PractIcum. So there will be things that's in your Google Drive that will ask you to upload here for me to gauge that it's been done. For me and Gabby and Kendall. Okay? And the final logbook, your POE presentation that you do right at the end to say, I've been to Weinberg Boys, I saw 17 clients, I did 4 groups, I was part of 3 community projects, I learned this, I liked this, and I didn't like that. There's a little presentation that you do at the end, okay? Your ethics paper for your supervisor to not grade, but to qualitatively give feedback. Your case study presentation, your group site presentation, and here the video. So throughout your practicum, you need to record one of your sessions with a client, but you need to get permission, hey? With their consent. Yeah, you have to get consent. You can't just jump a video on them. Make sure you have consent, and preferably not with kids, because that makes it a little bit tricky, with an adult client. If you don't have access to adult clients or older clients that can give consent over the age of 14 to 16 years, then you come speak to us, because maybe then we can, we'll chat. There's options, okay? And then your MOU. The MOU, I asked you to file so many times because we need that. Okay. Next one. Keep your records, attend supervision. This is compulsory. We've said this. It's about competency, not about hours. We've said this. Ask for support. You've got a supervisor, site supervisor, group supervisor, journal to write in, actual reflection in your personal journal, practicum coordinator, and an HOD. We're all in your corner. We all want you to succeed. Okay? But talk to us timelessly. Okay? Self-care, set boundaries, and find the work balance. I don't want students to burn out by March. Okay? Get a rhythm for yourself. Say no. No is a full sentence. Okay? If a site asks you to go over and beyond, and that's your kind of personhood, it's going to happen over and over and over and over again. Decide what you want to do. Do the things you like, but set boundaries, because at the end of the day, you're here to build in competency and not to impress other people. Okay, we want you to grow in skill and do what you do well, right? So make sure you set boundaries, and there's lovely ways of doing it. Also, don't just... Then I hope your house calls and says, come, you have to do this, and you go, no, I don't want you to do that, okay? But I do want you to be able to say, is it possible that if I do this, that I can have a day off then? So just be mindful of your own capacity and where you are at in terms of energy, all right? Make sure to rest, spend time with family, right? 30 hours a week, carry that with you. You only need 30 hours a week. That means no working Saturday, no working Sunday, no working evenings. You're still doing 30 hours a week, right? Is that okay? Next one. Are we not done yet, Chantal? Okay. All right, go. It's just the Monday schedule, which I'm going to show later. I think it won't show up here. All right. Assessment rubrics, like I said, it will be live on the LMS by the 9th of Feb. Everything that you will be uploaded will then have dates attached to it, and you can actually see the dates. Yeah, I've just put the Monday schedule, but you've got that already. Okay. We're scratching this. We just decided this is not going to happen. You're going to somewhere do it in your logbook. Okay, so everything now is in the logbook. I think it just makes it easier. I don't know why we haven't done that before. Thank you. All right. Everything is in the logbook. Is that it? Oh, yeah, this is exciting. Okay, so every year we have Jeremy from the DBT Training Institute offering our students a CPD accredited 3-day DBT training opportunity. Every year we present it to students, and if we have enough students that want to come, we organize it in that mid-March break for 3 days. We'll give you the dates prior, as soon as we can, preferably by next Monday, so that you can book it out at site. DBT is something really useful for RCs to use in terms of regulation of mood and all of the
stress tolerance,
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really nice and it falls within our scope, and it's a nice modality to use. They usually, I'll find out what the course price was, but they usually ask like 5,000 Rand for 3 days, and they give it for us for really, really cheap. I'll ask what his rate is this year. He gives us more than half price off. And like I said, it's some training that you won't get at this price ever again. So I will share the details with you. I asked Jeremy to send it to me. I spoke with him last week, and he's more than willing to do that again for our students. Okay, and it's really valuable. I've done it twice, and I use it in practice almost every day. Okay, conflict resolution, all of those things. Okay, but it's voluntary, and we know your time is valuable. So what it covers, I just put the program from last year, understanding DBT, DBT core concepts, biopsychosocial models, some mindfulness skills, observing, describing, participating. He does a lot of practice, behavioral chain of analysis. So it's South African context, which is really nice. He works in a South African context for the South African context, but there's the skills, short-term supported psychoeducational. Do you hear RC? Ne? Regulation skills, managing emotions, emotional vulnerability, tolerance, stress tolerance, and actual skills that we can give clients and use ourselves. So if you're interested in that, I'll make that available. We spoke about supervision, your cornerstone, your site, your group, and remember also we have psychometric supervision. We've said that. All right.
I think those hours often fill up quite quickly, supervision hours, because it's broken up between us and the site.
And what we do then, again, when your hours are full, then we go to professional skills. There's always somewhere we can log. We don't lose hours, we'll log them in another section that pertains to that. Okay, so we're going to have lunch now at 12 o'clock. And then when we get back, I want you to come ask questions if you have anything. If you're shell-shocked and you have nothing in your brain, it's also okay. You will meet with your supervisor later. As soon as we've done a bit of the question and answer section, I'm going to read out students and supervisors and just pair up who's with who. And then tomorrow morning, Nikki Marsha said that she would do a group counseling with students. That means us as lecturers and staff won't be involved. You can complain about everything. And it's your space. She is available tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, if you want to start tomorrow morning. I just said to her, we actually contracted with you 10 o'clock, so I first will hear if 9 o'clock can work. For who would that be an issue? Not to put you on the space, it's okay if it's an issue. 1, would the rest be available? 2, would 9 o'clock be okay for the rest? Okay, so she can come in 9 o'clock just to kind of settle nerves, do some breathing exercises with you guys, and just create a nice space. And then we've asked her to come in once a month to do self-care and a bit of emotional work with you guys, just as a means of debriefing and some stress-free hour in all of this madness. Okay. So she'll come in at 9, and then I give you over to Chantal, and you're in good hands there. Wednesday, we're going to do note-taking and case discussions, role-play exercises, and look at whatever we didn't get to today, because I don't want to make today too much. And then on Thursday, I'm going to give you a Google form to complete at home. You don't have to come to Psych, but you will have certain actions that you need to complete. You have to go through the logbook and click and tell me that you've done that. You have to read through your module outline and tell me that you've done that. You have to talk to me about where's your MOU, do you have one, what's happening there. So I made a list on a Google form, and on Thursday you have to go through that list so that Kendall, myself, and Gabby can know who still needs what where. This student doesn't have an MOU. This student doesn't have a supervisor. This student, so we can sit and make sure everything is there. Everything should be there. I'm not expecting a lot of drama. I think because we started early last year, everything should be sorted out. But if there's little hiccups, we still have time to figure that out before next week Tuesday, if I know it on Thursday. Okay. So I'll give you that form by Wednesday, and you can click, 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 click. It's literally like, I did it, I did it, I did it, I didn't do it. Okay, so that I can know where we are at. One thing we mentioned there is police clearance. You have to go apply for police clearance. So if you've not done that, applying for the police clearance, you have to come show me that you've done the application. Okay, we have to have that on record. Okie dokie, then we'll have a break. Please be seated at 12:20 so that we can also still break out into our supervision groups.